Hello, I am Stephanie Johnson with the Hair Care Company, and my mission is to make sure that you get and achieve healthy hair. And today we are talking all about henna. I get a lot of questions about henna, like what is it? Is it a chemical? Should I use it on my hair? So today I'm doing this short tutorial so you can decide whether or not henna is a good fit for you. But before we dive in, I want to make sure that you hit that like button or subscribe or even share this video with someone that you know the information would be useful to. So, exactly what is henna? Well, henna is a plant, and the henna color or the henna paste that we use and we put on our hair is derived from the henna plant. Now, in its natural form, henna will produce a red or an orange color. So, as you can see, I have a picture of a young lady here, and I'm pretty sure her hair is done with henna. It said that it was done with henna, and you can see the red cast in the sunlight. So, natural henna will produce this red or this orange color. Now, black henna, and I know a lot of people say, well, I use black henna, but black henna actually has indigo added to it. Now, indigo is a plant and it contains a natural blue dye. So if you get indigo all in your hands will be blue because it has so much this rich blue inside of the indigo plant. Now, black henna often contains a chemical used in the hair dyes called PPD or paraphenylene diamine. Now, that they use this in a much larger concentration in chemical dyes, but they have to put a small amount of it in the black henna so the indigo can mix well and stick well with the natural orange or red. Now, let's talk about the color. Well, let me move on to the next slide first. Now, henna works best on dark hair, but you can leave it can leave an orange or a red cast on salt and pepper hair. Now, what I was about to tell you about color is that there are only like three colors in the world. There's red, there's yellow, and blue, and all colors come from these three colors. So when colors are stripped down, any color that's stripped all the way down, it's either going to be red, yellow, or blue. So that's why they use the indigo plant. And that's why it works best on dark hair because it has just a small amount of that PPD. Sometimes on the salt and pepper hair, even with the black, you can still end up with a kind of reddish or even a greenish cast. Because if the henna is more on the orange side mixed with that blue, it can kind of give off a green cast. So just know that it works best on dark hair. So now let's talk about some advantages of henna and the advantages of using henna. Now, the first thing is that you can do it yourself at home. You do not need to be a professional. There are no special measurements you need to know, nothing that you need to know from cosmetology. It's really pretty simple. It's easy to mix and it's simple to apply. I stress the word simple, and we're going to get into the application. Now, henna is permanent, but it can begin to dull after 4 to 6 weeks. A lot of people think that henna fades out. It does not. Once it gets on your hair and sticks to it, it is permanent. It does not go away, but it will dull after time. Now, henna is safer to use than your traditional chemical dye. So it is a safer alternative. I have a picture here of some developer. Now, developer is something that you mix with hair color with permanent or demi-permanent hair color. And what it does is it causes a chemical reaction when the two are mixed together, which allows the mixture to open up your hair strand and then deposit color pigments. So it can either deposit or it can remove color pigments, which would be your natural pigment, and then deposit color. So that's how you would get blonde hair. The hair color will go on, the pigments from your natural hair will be removed, and then the pigment that is in the hair color, be it honey blonde or chestnut or cinnamon, whatever it is, that pigment will go inside the hair strand. So uh, since henna does not have that ability, it is a safer alternative. Now, let's talk about some disadvantages of henna and what you need to look for and pay attention to when you decide, if you decide to use henna. Now, it can only darken hair. We just talked about it. That's why I brought up the developer, because it does not have the ability to remove natural pigment. So it can only deposit pigment into your hair, and it's going to deposit this vegetable dye, that's what it is, onto your hair. So know that it can only darken your hair. Another disadvantage to it is that it is extremely messy. Now, I did say earlier that it's simple to apply, but it is so messy. So if you decide to use it and you're using it for the very first time, make sure that you are wearing clothing that you don't mind messing up, and that you cover your counters or your bathroom sink or wherever you're going to apply it with some plastic and something to protect it so the henna doesn't get everywhere. Be careful when you're combing it through, and just make sure you put down enough protective gear to protect your belongings and your possessions and all the things around you. Now, henna can be affected by heat styling tools such as flat iron. So if you like to straighten your hair, um, and flat iron it out from time to time. Now, it doesn't necessarily rub it off, but the heat kind of changes the makeup, especially if you're using a black henna, and that natural red or orange tone will begin to come through, especially if you have gray hair and you have somehow managed to get it to cover it. As soon as you put some heat on it, trust me, you're going to see a little bit of red. So just keep that in mind. Now, I cannot stress this enough, but it cannot be used with other chemicals. What do I mean by that? I have a picture here of a relaxer, a box relaxer. But it doesn't matter whether you're wearing a relaxer, if you wear bleach on your hair, if you wear some type of hair color, if you have Brazilian blowout on it, it doesn't matter. You cannot use this with any other chemical. The two do not mix. This is a vegetable dye. If you mix this vegetable natural dye with this chemical, it will be disastrous. Trust me. And your hair will be so dry. So you do not want to use it with other chemicals. Another disadvantage is that it dries out curly or coiled hair. It will, you know, coiled hair especially is already naturally dry. And the reason that it's dry is because of the shape of the hair. It's not that our bodies do not make natural oil and that we don't have sebaceous glands and the sebum does does not produce, because we produce plenty of it. But the problem is that the hair strand is so many dips and turns and valleys and hills that the oil, the natural oil, can't slide down the strand. So the henna itself will make it a little bit more dry. Well, in fact, it can make it a lot more dry than normal. So that is a disadvantage, but I am going to give you some tips on how to avoid that if you decide to use henna. Now, I just told you I'm going to give you some tips. So here are my pro tips if you decide to give it a try and use henna for yourself. The first thing you want to make sure is that you use it only on virgin hair. We already went over this, but you know what? You can never say it too many times. Only use it on virgin hair. You will be sorry if you tried to put it on top of previously relaxed hair. And if you're growing out and you only have relaxer on the ends, I suggest you either cut it out or be prepared to really baby those ends with a lot of moisturizer, a lot of deep conditioning. Now, a way to avoid drying it out is to add a little moisturizing conditioner to the mixture. So a good measurement would be 1 to 4. So if you have 1 cup of henna, you want to add a 1/4 cup of the moisturizing conditioner. That will help to kind of keep the hair as moist as possible, and the henna won't dry it out as much. You do not want to mix henna in a metal bowl. That is a no-no. In fact, You never want to mix any kind of chemical that you're going to put on your hair or any kind of product that requires mixing in a metal bowl. Conditioner, shampoos, things like that, metal doesn't affect it, but it's when you're dealing with color, and because the henna is a vegetable dye, it mixes with that metallic, and sometimes you can end up with kind of a greenish hue because of the chemical reaction of the two meeting together. So always mix it into a plastic bowl. Another thing is that you can leave it in overnight. Remember, this is not a chemical, and especially if you're mixing in the moisturizing conditioner, you can sleep with this overnight. Now, you don't want to just put a processing cap on and go to sleep. What you want to do is you want to get some coiled cotton, make sure you put it around the perimeter of your hair, and then put the processing cap on. And then my suggestion to you is, even after that, get an old cotton bandana and put that around your head too, and tie that on tightly, and then protect your pillow with like an old towel, something you don't mind messing up, and sleep with it overnight. And you just want to put the towel down just in case, because sometimes we sweat at night. You just don't want it to drip out, and you want to make sure it, just in case the cotton doesn't catch any excess dripping. And then in the morning, you just want to finish up. You want to make sure you rinse it thoroughly. Then you want to shampoo it, and then always put on a deep conditioner. If possible, put the deep conditioner on, put on a new clean processing cap, and sit under a heated dryer for 10 to 20 minutes, just to make sure you get a deep conditioner, rinse it out, and then style as usual. So now I hope these tips were helpful to you. And if you want to learn more about how to get and keep your hair healthy, I have a free training, Healthy Hair and Scalp. I'm going to leave the link in the description so you can sign up. It's absolutely free to you, and I teach you all about how your hair works and what you can do to make sure that it gets and it stays healthy. So on that note, I want to thank you for watching, and I will see you next time. Bye.